to record this meeting today because I want to be able to post this online so that others can view it if they are not able to attend one of our online training sessions. But I hope that won't stop you from asking questions or jumping in with comments, because that really does make the experience more valuable for everybody, and it makes sure that we don't leave anything important out. Again, I'm Bruce Jacobs, the CFC Executive Director for the Intermountain CFC Territory, and I'm happy to be with you today. I want to start with just letting you know that this is our theme for 2015, You Can Change a Life, and you'll notice that there's a lot of different people shown here on this logo, and these are all real people who have benefited from actual charities in the Intermountain CFC area, and we've got their stories posted online, and you'll be seeing more of them. You'll see them on our posters and in a lot of our handouts and the things that we have. We want to really share the successes of the campaign with our donors. So that's one reason that we incorporated this into our theme for 2015. I'm going to start with a quick CFC 101. I know this may be familiar for most of you, but I just want to emphasize that this really is your campaign. This is not your manager's campaign or the head of the department's campaign or President Obama's campaign. This is a federal employee campaign to support charities of your choice. Each employee gets to choose the nonprofits they wish to support, and they can do so anytime between now and the 15th of December. Now that's when the campaign window is open, but you get to pick the dates that you want to run your campaign within that time frame. So if you're a smaller agency, you can pick maybe a week campaign, or if you're a larger agency, you might want to go several weeks, but it's really up to you. The largest campaign in our territory, Hill Air Force Base, runs a very tight 6-week campaign, and they reach out to 15,000 federal employees, just to give you an idea. So it really is up to you. Since the CFC has been around started in 1961, federal employees like you have given over $7 billion to charities, and you truly have changed countless lives along the way. It's just who you are. You're a generous-minded people, and my hat's off to you for that. Just by way of information, the CFC is one big nationwide campaign, but it is broken down into different geographic regions so that we can have local outreach and do things kind of according to our local culture. So this is a campaign map of the Intermountain CFC territory, that area you see in red. And so we reach out to about 55,000 federal employees in this territory. Please stop me if you have any questions along the way. I'm going somewhat quickly. The structure of the CFC is quite simple. It's really about federal employees helping CFC charities that apply each year. This is you, the CFC managers and key workers, who engage your colleagues and give them an informed opportunity to choose to give through the CFC. And this is a choice campaign. It's up to every individual if they wish to participate. We do have a supervisory layer. The Local Federal Coordinating Committee, or LFCC, you can think of them as our local board of directors. They're made up of federal employees from our area. They're all volunteers, definitely non-paid, and they oversee this campaign. They set the budget for this campaign. I report to them, and they oversee the charity application process, among other things. And this administrative role you see at the bottom, Principal Combined Fund Organization, or CFO, we certainly won't test you on this, but that is the nonprofit that Intermountain CFC has partnered with to be the administrative role to give the campaign its tax-exempt status. In this case, the PCFO is performed by United Way of Northern Utah, but I will stress to you that this is not a United Way campaign. This is the combined federal campaign, and it's your campaign, and United Way does not receive so much as a dime in fees for administering this role. Now, there are expenses to the campaign, and United Way covers those, and then later on, when the campaign's done, those expenses are reimbursed, but we do our very best to keep them as low as possible and we don't charge any fees. We just cover our expenses. This is a break-even proposition for this PCFO and every PCFO across the nation. Are there any questions about the structure or anything we've covered so far before I move on? Okay, like I said, this was just kind of CFC 101. So the meat of today's presentation, we're here to talk about what is your role as the CFC manager. And we've really boiled this down into 4 steps. Number 1, to prepare. Number 2, to influence others. Number 3, to report your success and to process pledges. And finally, to say thank you to every volunteer and every donor and everybody involved in the campaign. So you'll see these color-coded bars at the top of the presentation, just letting you know kind of where we are along the way. So we're going to start with preparation. So everyone get your running shoes on, and off we go. The first thing I want you to know about the campaign is something called universal giving, or I like to call it Give Anywhere. This is a somewhat new initiative. We did have this last year, but I'm not sure the word really got out as much as we'd like. Through CFC, you've always been able to give to local nonprofits in your local campaign territory. That's that red map I showed you earlier. And you've always been able to give to the big national, international charitable groups. But what you haven't been able to do is give to a local, smaller nonprofit somewhere else in the country. And I talk to federal employees a lot, and it seems like only maybe 1 out of every 5 I ask is actually from or born and raised, within our territory, and the rest are from elsewhere in the United States, because you do move around quite a bit. And now through Give Anywhere, we've made it possible for you to search for and find the 5-digit code for any CFC nonprofit anywhere in the country. And then using that 5-digit code, you can enter it on your online pledge form or your physical pledge form, and that's where your money will go. So this really is a great benefit to federal employees, and I hope that you'll help us share the word about this year. You'll find this flyer on the back of our printed charity list, because that's how important we feel it is to get the word out about this. All right, so let's start in on preparation. The first step is to get your team of volunteers together. Now, this might depend on the size of your federal agency, so I'll leave that up to your discretion. If you're from a small agency, then probably 1 or 2 people would be all you need to make contact with everybody. But some of our larger federal agencies have several hundred people, so it really depends on the size. But what we kind of aim for is 1 CFC volunteer for every 25 employees. So if you have more than 25 employees at your office, I would encourage you to get another person or 2 on board and see if you can together make that contact and share the knowledge you get from the training today. And they will also bring additional ideas and energy to your campaign. I want to take just a moment and show you the campaign toolbox, and that's located at the Intermountain CFC website. Just below, I'm going to log out here, just below the area where you registered as a campaign manager. So if you click on Campaign Team and then Campaign Managers, right below the registration box, you'll find the campaign toolbox. And here we've provided for you all kinds of information, tools, and resources to help you with your campaign. There are things that you can print out. There's the copy of today's presentation you can download here as a PDF document, and we've posted emails, and there are more coming actually. So we'll be sharing more with you. But I hope you'll become familiar with all of these tools in your campaign toolbox because this is designed for you. Okay, let's talk about the different ways that federal employees can pledge. So you have different methods of giving. We do still have the paper pledge form, and I want to emphasize that even though we have online tools and they're becoming more and more popular, we cannot mandate that federal employees use an online method to pledge. So if they're more comfortable using a paper pledge form, we do need to provide that to them, as well as a printed charity list, or however they're most comfortable looking up charities to pledge. So through the paper pledge form, you can give a one-time cash or check contribution, or you can sign up for a payroll gift that will come out of next year's paycheck. The difference really between these two, they're both going to be credited to the 2015 CFC campaign, but as far as your tax deductions go, those who make a one-time cash or check contribution this fall, that is something that they can itemize on their deductions for their 2015 tax return, which they will file next year. But if you sign up for a payroll gift, it won't actually come out of your paycheck until the 2016 calendar year, and therefore you would itemize those deductions on your 2016 tax return, which you file in early 2017. We also have the e-giving methods of pledging to charity, and we have three options, and which of the three you use will probably depend on which federal agency you happen to belong to. So if you're with the Department of Interior or Social Security or one or two other agencies, and you probably know who you are, you'll use Employee Express if you want to sign up for payroll giving. And if you are with the Veterans Affairs or the military or some of our other military-related agencies, I believe DCAA on the phone today, I believe you will be using MyPay for online pledging. And then any other federal agency that doesn't use one of these two government systems has the option to register an account with CFC Nexus, and you can use CFC Nexus to make a payroll gift. All of them work, but the difference is that these bottom two, Employee Express and MyPay, those are government systems, and they are tied in directly to your federal payroll centers, and so there's no additional processing step that needs to take place, whereas with CFC Nexus there is an additional processing step, and we'll cover that in just a moment. And finally, for those who are interested in giving a one-time credit or debit card gift through the CFC, you can certainly do that, but you have to use CFC Nexus to do it. So, and it doesn't matter what federal agency with, any agency, any employee can register an account with CFC Nexus and log on and do a credit or debit card transaction. So that's just a quick overview, and we're going to go into more detail about each one of these. So let's start with the paper pledge form. I know most of you have seen this before, so I won't go into too much detail as it is pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to note that when you put down your federal agency and office, it's really helpful if you will put the city as well as the agency you're with. So for example, if I'm with the Bureau of Land Management and I'm in Vernal, Utah, then I would put BLM Vernal right here. And that's more helpful for us on this end, just to make sure that we're crediting the pledge to the right federal agency. Remember, we're reaching out to agencies across 4 states, and there is a lot of similar agencies out there. In fact, we have 2 different DCAA offices on the phone today. The Social Security number is only required for donors who are signing up for a payroll deduction pledge. So if they want to do a one-time cash or check contribution, they do not have to fill out the Social Security number. And by the way, this is only visible on the top copy of the 3-part form, which stays in federal hands. It goes directly to your federal payroll center, never comes to my office, is never seen by anybody outside of the government. All right, I think you're all pretty familiar with how to look up a charity code and put it right here, and then how much you want to give per paycheck over here and the total gift over here. The donor recognition box here is for those who are interested in one of our CFC incentive items, and I'll share more details about those later on in the presentation. And finally, this information release box here, this is a really unique thing to CFC, because through the campaign, you have full control over whether or not you remain anonymous to the nonprofits you're choosing to support. So if you fill out this box, then the CFC will release to the charities you give your name and contact information, whatever you enter here. We have federal employees who choose to just put their email address only, and that way they don't have to worry about being added to a mailing list and getting things in the mail. It's really up to you, however. And if you check this box at the bottom, not only will we release the information you specify here, but we will also let the charity know how much you gave to them. So you really have full control. You can release your name only, but not how much you give, or you can remain completely anonymous. So that's a really great benefit of the CFC. The signature, again, is only required if you're signing up for a payroll deduction pledge. Are there any questions on the pledge form before I move on? Okay, I'll talk about how to process these later on in the presentation. So for now, I want to show you really quick how a federal employee could use CFC Nexus to do either a credit card transaction or sign up for payroll. So rather than using the screenshots here in my presentation, which you can always come back to later, I'm going to go live to CFC Nexus and show you how to do this live. So the way you can get there is from our Intermountain CFC homepage. You just click on this little blue bubble that says CFC Nexus, and it will open up the Nexus pledging site. It looks a whole lot like our Intermountain CFC page. For those who are new to this system, the first thing they'll do is click on this blue register button, and then you can quickly find your federal agency either by searching for it, or you can find your department and then drill down until you find your federal agency. So I'll be with the DCAA today, and then I'll click civilian and enter whether I'm Mr. or Mrs. And then you just put in your first and last name, your email address, and you choose a username and a password that you can remember, and then when you're finished, you click this green button to register, and it will log you into the system. Since I already have a login, I'm just going to click the login button, and I'm going to sign in as the CFC director. You would sign in as yourself. And now that I'm in the system, you'll notice that the first thing it asks is, hey, you've made a pledge before. Would you like to replicate the last pledge you made? This happens to be just a few days ago because I'm doing a lot of demonstrations this time of year. But for most of you, it would be last year's pledge. And if I click on this replicate button right here, it's going to pull up the details of the last pledge I made. It's going to find the same charities, the same amount, and you could just with a couple of clicks be done immediately and do the same thing you did last year. Or you do have the option to add or drop a charity, change the amount if you wish. So there is still some tailoring you can do after clicking on this. But just to show you how the full process works, I'm going to skip that step. And starting with credit card contributions, I'm going to select credit card. Then I simply check which kind of card it is. I enter my card number here, the expiration date here, the verification code, all the same things that you would normally be asked for if you were, say, making a purchase on Amazon or another e-commerce site. And then at the bottom, you would enter the amount you wish to give or to charge to your credit card. Again, your card will be charged immediately, whereas with the payroll deduction, you sign up today and you don't begin to have that money deducted until 2016. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to payroll and show you that process. I'll say I'm a civilian agency, and then I put in how much I'd like to give per paycheck. Let's say I want to give $14 a paycheck. I have to check this little circle that authorizes the government to withhold that amount. And you'll notice it's done the math for me here, so I can just go to the next step. And that's going to ask for my information. For example, since I'm doing a payroll gift now, I need to put in my social security number, so I'll put in a fictitious number here, and then enter my phone number, and then go to the next step. And here's where I have the control over what information I want to release. So if I say yes, release the information to the charities, then it's going to ask, okay, what information? Where's your state, your zip, or do you want to do your email instead? So I can fill that out, or if I can say no, thank you. this contact year-round option is whether or not I want Intermountain CFC to add me to its newsletter. And we send a newsletter a couple of times a year letting you know the results of the campaign and what's going on with CFC. But if you'd rather not, you just say no. And then recognition award is if you're interested in some of the incentive items that we're offering. So I'm going to select them. And this year we have two. One of them is a CFC coaster for your desk. You can put your coffee or your water bottle on it. It's made of cork, so it's very absorbent, but the back side of it is made of wood. So it's a quality item, but it's very easy to get. For any pledge to a charity of $26 or more, you qualify for this coaster. And since I've also qualified for the coin at a higher giving level, $364 per year, I can select that one. And now I'm telling the system, yeah, I would like to get that coin. And by the way, the gifts are cumulative, so you can get both the coin and the coaster by selecting this option. Was there a question? Okay, I thought I heard someone ask something. You may want to put your phone on mute just in case if somebody enters your room or what have you. This tribute option is kind of cool. So if you would like to make your pledge in honor of or in memory of someone special in your life, you can click that and put in the name and comments, and then, or even have a tribute card sent to that individual, letting them know that you made a gift in their honor. And I can go to the next step. And this is where you can begin to search for your nonprofits. Now, I'd like, even if you're not a CFC Nexus agency per se, please pay attention, because this search functionality here is the very same search engine we have at our Intermountain CFC website. The only difference being that at Nexus you can actually go on and pledge to the agencies that you find, whereas here it's more or less just a lookup tool. So I can search by clicking here, or I can go under the donors section and click on charity search. Takes you to the same page. Here's where you can continue on to Employee Express or MyPay, but you'll notice that it's the same search function here, the very same that we have at Nexus. So you can look for your charity here, and if you find this search functionality easier, then simply write down the 5-digit code and then go on and make your pledge with a paper pledge form, or you could write down those codes and then search for those charities in Employee Express or MyPay. So we have some donors that prefer this system over the other two. I'm going to go back to Nexus though and show you a couple of different ways you can search. You can go ahead and you could put in a keyword search like leukemia, and then you'll notice a whole bunch of charities come up that have either leukemia either in the name or in the description of the charity. Notice how many of these have this orange circle and it says UG in the middle. That stands for Universal Giving. And what that tells you is that this is a nonprofit that is located in a different area of the country. It's a local nonprofit, but it's not local to Intermountain CFC. If you don't want all those outside agencies coming up in your search, then you can simply, here under More Search Options, if you deselect the box next to Include UG Charities, and then do your search again, now it's only going to show me national organizations or local organizations that have something to do with leukemia. So that's one way you can do it if you want to restrict that, or you can search throughout the nation by checking this box. A very interesting way to search now, without even putting in a search term, I can simply enter my local zip code. I'm going to put in the zip code for Hill Air Force Base nearby, and I'm going to find that my results show the charities that are closest to my zip code. You'll notice that this, now you're seeing a little circle with a heart in the middle, and that tells you that these nonprofits are local to the Intermountain campaign. There are other search options that you might be interested in trying. rather than zip code. If you can sort your results either randomly or you can sort them alphabetically by name. Another interesting way you can do your search results is by administrative and fundraising rate. And if you do a search by that, it's going to show you the charities that have the lowest administrative overhead. They will come up first. So if I'm doing a search for, I don't know, let's say obesity or something, I've never done that one before, but it's going to show me the nonprofits that have the lowest overhead first in my search results. So let's go to, let's say I'm interested in dolphins. I'm going to search for dolphins now, and it's going to show me the charities at the lowest overhead rate. And let's say that this is one that I'm interested in supporting. So I'm going to add this to my pledge cart. And you'll see that it disappears here. Where did it go? It went down to the bottom where I have sort of my shopping cart of nonprofits. Now I can continue to search. So let's do, let's go ahead and do a local zip code search. I know there's a charity nearby that I want to support. I can't quite remember the name of it. Oh, that was it. It was Prevent Child Abuse Utah. So I'm going to add that one to my pledge. I'm going to go in here, and there's a, so now I'm thinking, oh, there's, you know, I'm from Florida, and there was a Boys and Girls Club back there. Boys and Girls, I'll just type in Boys and Girls, and here's all the Boys and Girls Clubs results. And let's say, okay, it wasn't Florida, it was Nevada. That's the one I'm looking for, and I'm going to add that to my pledge. So now I've got 3 nonprofits down here, and let's just say that I'm finished searching for charities now, and I want to distribute the $364 total gift, because I'm doing 14 a paycheck. If I want to distribute an equal amount or very close to equal, I'll just click this green button here, and it will give them as close to an equal dollar amount as possible. Or I can manually come in here and say, no, I'd like 150 to go to here, and I'd like 75 to go here, and then it's going to tell me that now I have 139 left, so that's going to go to the final charity. So if I'm done now, I'm going to go to the next step, and finally it's going to ask me to sign this pledge form. Well, how do I do that? It's on my screen. I just hold down the left button of my mouse, and I sign my name very beautifully and professionally, as you can see. I get a lot of practice with this mouse signing, but you're probably still not impressed with my penmanship. But it doesn't even have to be pretty. It's legal. So now I'm done with this pledge, and voila, your pledge has been completed successfully. And then I click here to proceed, and you'll notice that I'll show all the previous pledges that I've made. So I can look at past pledge history here, or I can I click on it here. Yep, there's one I just made. I could email it to myself or print it off. You have a lot of options here. As a donor, though, I am now done with my payroll deduction pledge form, or I could have used this system for credit card as well. So we're going to move on. But are there any questions first about CFC Nexus? I will show you later on how to process a CFC Nexus pledge and how you can look up pledges online. So don't worry about that. But any questions on the pledge process itself? All right, you guys are just, you're like sponges. You absorb it all. All right, I am going to go. Now we get to skip through all these, because I just showed you all this live. And now we've got Employee Express. So I won't spend too much time here because I know that those of you who have Employee Express are very familiar with the system. I'll just run you through a few screenshots. Once you log in with your existing username or password, you'll just click on Combined Federal Campaign, which appears between now and December 15th. And once you click on it, the first thing you're going to see is how much you have currently coming out of your paycheck for CFC. if you used Employee Express last year to make your pledge. If you used a paper form or CFC Nexus or another mechanism last year, then Employee Express isn't going to recognize that you currently have something coming out of your paycheck. This is just a fictitious example of somebody who was doing a $100 paycheck donation. So then you can continue, and then you have the option to do a search. So you can look up charities in Employee Express too. If you happen to know the code already because you looked it up with our other system or in the book, you would just put in that 5-digit code number and then click search. Or you can go ahead and search by keyword, by name, similar to what we've done already, and click charity name search. One slightly quirky thing about Employee Express is once you click one of these buttons, the screen will refresh real quick, and then you'll see the same screen, and it looks like nothing has happened. But if you scroll down, you will find your search results. This is just showing additional ways to search. So this next shot shows that I scrolled down, I found my results, and I selected Cathedral Home for Children as one of the agencies that I want to support. So it's appearing here in red. And I can save here and continue with my pledge process, or if I'm not done finding charities, I just come down here again and continue to use the search functions until I find all the nonprofits that I wish to support. And then it will ask me to put in how much per paycheck. So in this example, I'm doing $10 a paycheck for $260 total, and then I can divide that amount among the nonprofits that I have selected. And then you want to continue until the undesignated amount equals 0. So you're giving everything to one of the nonprofits that you've selected. Then again with this system, it will ask you for some personal information, and you have, once again, full control over how much information you release to charities. You will select your specific federal agency by coming to this drop-down link here, and you'll select whichever agency you're with. And then if you select yes on amount release authorization, it will tell the nonprofits you're giving to how much you gave. And then you can tell them how you wish to be contacted, either not at all, or by email, or by address. On the donor gift recognition, Employee Express also recognizes that we have some gift options. So if you select yes, it will give you a drop-down menu where you can select either the coin or the coaster, similar to Nexus, although it doesn't show you pictures. And then when you're done, you click Save. And then you can review everything that you've done, how much you're giving, who you're giving it to, the information that you provided, and then at the bottom you will click yes to confirm or no to cancel and make changes. All right, that is Employee Express. I hope I didn't go too fast, but does anyone have any questions on Employee Express? No. Okay. I think we do have a few agencies on the phone today who do use MyPay, so I'm going to go through that really fast. Again, I do not have access to MyPay as far as a live demonstration, I'm afraid. I just have screenshots. But to log in, you'll use your existing MyPay username and password that you set up when you started with the government. And then under Pay Changes, you will find Combined Federal Campaign and click that. And then, similar to Employee Express, it will tell you what is currently coming out of your paycheck if you used MyPay last year to pledge. Again, it will not recognize or understand that you may be doing a monthly contribution, but maybe you used a paper form or Nexus last year. But if you did use MyPay, it should be showing up here. So to do a new pledge for the 2016 year, I'm going to click Add New Contribution. And here's where it gets a little different. I don't think we have any military on the phone today, so you won't have to worry about this part. But the military has to enter our Intermountain CFC campaign code, which is 0870. But that's only for military. You civilians, MyPay folks, you're not even going to see this screen. And then you won't see this screen either where you confirm that you found the right campaign. It will take you directly here. And here you're going to enter the amount per pay period. This says month because it's as if a military person had logged in, but for a civilian it will be the amount per paycheck, and you're paid 26 times per year. So you'll put how much per paycheck do you want to put here. Make sure you tell your donors not to put their annual contribution in this box. We had 1 or 2 people do that last year, and they had a very unpleasant surprise for them in the first paycheck of the following year. And yes, we were able to get it fixed, but it's you know, to have your entire year's amount deducted from your first paycheck is probably not the most fun thing to happen to you to start off the new year. Hopefully I've made that clear. It's the amount per paycheck, then you click Save. And now you can start looking up the nonprofits. And you have 4 different ways. You can do a code search if you know the 5-digit code, or you click on this tab and you can search by name, or you can search by nonprofit category, and there are some advanced features similar to what I showed you in Nexus, like searching by administrative and fundraising rate and so forth. So if you were to put in, maybe you looked it up with the printed charity list and you found the 5-digit code of the Wounded Warrior Emergency Support Fund, and you put it in here, and then you click search. It's going to show you your search results here. It's funny because they changed the example, but let's say this is a Wounded Warrior again. Then you're going to check the box next to the charity, number 1, and then second step is you're going to add your selected charity. And then you can continue to search and add charities until you found all the charities that you wish to support. And then at that point, in this example, they've only found there's only 1 nonprofit they wish to support. So here's the name of it. And then again, right here, how much are you going to put in? Are you going to give to this charity per paycheck? So you know you signed up for $5 a paycheck. If I had 2 charities and I was giving $5 a paycheck, then I would want to put the number 3 next to one of them and the number 2 next to the other one. So I split up my full amount. They do this a little bit differently. But in this case, there's only 1 nonprofit, so I would put in the full $5 a paycheck and then click Continue. Again, make sure they're not putting in their annual total gift for the year right here. And then it's going to ask for some information. So you'll put in your work email address or your phone number. And here where it says, for military, it's asking for your command/unit name. For civilians, this is going to say federal agency/office name. And you're going to put in your unique MyPay code, and then you can proceed. So if you don't know what your agency's MyPay code is, it's going to be, for most of you, the numeric descriptor that matches your agency in our CFC database. So I can provide that to you. Just send me an email after the presentation if you're with MyPay and say, hey, Bruce, please remind me what our agency's MyPay code is. And sometimes it's a 3-digit number, sometimes it's a 4-digit or 5-digit number. But you have to put in that number here so that we know exactly which federal agency gets credit for this particular pledge. So they shouldn't be putting your agency's name in here. They shouldn't be putting in our campaign code 0870. They should be putting a unique numeric code that we provide for you. So that's really important, so that we don't have to spend hours of time afterward trying to figure out which federal agency this individual belongs to. And then you can, again, you have control over releasing your amount or how you're recognized and whether charities can contact you, all the same stuff. And then you click Continue. And then you can review your contribution, and if it all looks correct, you're going to click Yes. And then you get a confirmation screen, and you can view your pledge card as a PDF, which will look somewhat like this when you're all done. And then it is tied, again, like Employee Express, it's tied directly to payroll and will automatically come out of the donor's paycheck come next year. So just to recap, civilians, you do not have to worry about this because it's going to recognize that you're part of Intermountain CFC. But at the end of the pledge process, make sure you train your donors about which numeric code to enter for their federal agency office. And contact me after the presentation, and I will share that number with you. Questions on MyPay? Okay. All right, now we get to move into my very favorite part of the presentation, and that is how to bring influence to bear in the CFC. So I'm going to shift gears here and talk to you a little bit about 6 forms of influence. And I've taken this directly from a book called Influencer by a company named Vital Smarts, and they're the ones that brought us Crucial Conversations and some other organizational behavior type books. But I found this to be very helpful information. And you can apply this directly to the CFC, but you can also apply these forms of influence to other aspects of your life. Of course, in the presentation I'll be discussing how you can influence others to make a CFC contribution. So there are 6 forms of influence, and the authors say that those who are most successful in influencing others are those who overdetermine success by actively finding or using all 6 of these forms of influence as they're attempting to sway others. So they make the point that we often will default to this first quadrant here, personal motivation. So if we're trying to influence somebody to do take some vital step or some important behavior, then if we encounter resistance, we tend to assume right away this has got to be a personal motivation thing. The person just doesn't want to do it. I'll use my son as an example. My 5-year-old, I'm trying to teach him to make his own bed in the morning. And if I encounter resistance, it's really easy for me to think, oh, the kid just doesn't want to. You know, he has no motivation to make his bed. But in reality, it's often more about I did not properly prepare him and teach him how to do it, and he feels overwhelmed by the process. So it's actually more of an ability type thing. So even though we're going to go through these in chronological 1 through 6 order, just bear in mind that ability is often just as important as personal motivation. So we're going to talk first, but we will start with personal motivation. And this is really about how do you, as a campaign coordinator, how do you approach somebody? How do you ask them to make a CFC contribution? Because let's be real, we're asking somebody to give up what is a scarce resource, financial money. So how you approach someone is really important. And I recommend that you start by telling your story. Well, let me back up first. You know, the research and the feedback we get overwhelmingly says that the #1 reason why somebody chooses to give is that simply that they were asked. And that might seem way too obvious, but it's true. We give when we're asked to. So how do you ask? Again, start with your own story. I think everybody has a story to tell. I think every one of us at one point or another in our life have had something happen to us where we needed somebody else. We relied on somebody else to step in and be there for us and help us. So if I were to approach you today, I might share the story with you about how my son Riley was diagnosed with diabetes when he turned 5 years old, and I had been doing the CFC for 2 or 3 years at that point. But we found ourselves down at the medical center in Salt Lake City, the Children's Medical Center, learning how to take care of him. And fortunately, we caught it early on, and so it wasn't a disaster. But in the 3 days we were there, 3 different CFC nonprofits came to our aid. And one of them, of course, was the medical center itself, because they're a charity care hospital, like many children's hospitals throughout the country, and they will not turn away any child because of lack of insurance or ability to pay. So that was reassuring to me. The second day we were there, we had another CFC charity come and visit us, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and they brought us a backpack. And inside the backpack, they had a teddy bear for my son and a DVD and a coloring book. And for us as parents, they had books and resources and information. And that was I was overwhelmed. That was a lot of stuff that they gave us. And they didn't charge us a dime. And it was because of donations that it was possible. And they're a CFC charity. And the third day we were there, we were visited by a gentleman who had a big sheepdog, and he was visiting all the kids, and he drew them. And he took 10 minutes with us, and for that time, my son got to pet the sheepdog and took his mind off what he was going through. And lo and behold, he was from Intermountain Therapy Animals, another CFC nonprofit. And I really realized at that point in my life that this campaign is not just, quote unquote, raising money for charity. It is helping to ensure that these vital resources are there for us when we might need them. And I'll tell you what, I never expected to have to be on the receiving end. I never saw that as me. I saw myself as the one who helped others give. And I came away with a totally new viewpoint on the campaign. And so that's my story, and I hope that you've got a story to share, and I think you do if you'll reflect and take a moment. Once you've shared your story with others, it really becomes easy. Now you just ask the magic questions. What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? Have you ever had an experience like this or another one that you care to share? And I was having a conversation with a senior leader at Hill Air Force Base yesterday, and I shared my story with him, and he immediately came back and he had a story of how his son was born with a cleft palate lip, and how much it meant to him that these organizations are there and can provide services. So then we simply invite, and we're not in the business of high-pressure sales, and I'm not trying to train you how to be manipulative in any way, shape, or form. I want you to be as real and as genuine as possible and simply make an invitation. And if they say no thank you or explain how they give it in a different way, then you smile and say thank you so much for what you're doing, because it's just as important no matter how someone chooses to give. Another source of personal motivation and a tool we're providing for you is that we have pre-drafted campaign emails. There's 8 of them, and you can share these with your colleagues throughout the campaign. I want to stress that these are not intended to take the place of your personal one-on-one contact with employees, because there's really no substitute for talking with somebody face-to-face and sharing your story and engaging one-on-one. But these are intended to be supplemental and a resource, and each one of these emails contains the picture and the story of a real beneficiary of our local nonprofits. And this happens to be a woman named Crystal, who's a nurse and a single mother, and her family was living in her parents' basement until a CFC nonprofit came in and helped them to build a home that they could call their own. And each one of these emails has a story like that. It takes a slightly different angle on the campaign. So you're welcome to use 1 or 2 or 3 of them, or all of them, depending on the length of your campaign and your own personal needs. And we've posted 4 of them already at the campaign toolbox, which I showed you previously. Again, that's at intermountainCFC.org. Under the campaign team menu, click on campaign managers. You'll find it's the same place you went to register. Just below that, you'll find the campaign toolbox. So those are there for you, and I hope that you'll make use of them. We also have videos posted at intermountainCFC.org. If you go to the donor drop-down menu and then click on videos, we have 2 there already, and we're working on a 3rd that's specific to this year's theme and this year's campaign, and I expect that to be fully finished and on our website no later than the 1st of October. So, in fact, I saw a draft of it today. It's over halfway done. It's looking really good. Those are there for you to use. You can put the link in an email. You can show them in a group meeting, however is most beneficial to you. So let's jump over to the second side of influence and talk about ability, and this time we're talking about personal ability. Now you might think, well, anybody can fill out a pledge form. Well, that may not be the case. Some people are a little bit overwhelmed by the process, especially if maybe they're new to online giving and they're a little bit overwhelmed by that, or they don't know how to fill out the pledge form, they're new to the federal government. So try to remove those roadblocks as much as possible. Provide a demonstration. When you're sending out emails, you can provide step-by-step instructions and links. We have resources for you to help you do that, and I'm going to post even more resources along this line in the campaign toolbox. Some of our campaign managers still really like the hard copy pledge form, and before they hand it out to people, they'll put the donor's name on it for them, the federal agency on it. Obviously, they will not put in the amount or the charities. That's up to the donor. But it gives the person a sense of accountability and ownership for their pledge form. And do your would-be contributors understand that they can afford to give? Have they considered the benefits of payroll giving? I think that you should spend a moment or two talking about that. I'm a great example because I don't have a lot of surplus money to my name any given month. However, I do like to give, and I like to give by payroll deduction. And I can give a modest amount per paycheck, and throughout the course of the year, it really adds up to be a lot more generous than I could afford to be at any one given time. So I've still never found a better way personally to be generous and give to the nonprofits that I care about. Of course, there are tax benefits of giving, and with payroll, you sign up now and nothing begins to accrue from your paycheck until after the new year. To help you with this process, we have printed and will provide for you what we call campaign postcards. They're postcard size, and each of them has a personal story on the front from a CFC beneficiary, and on the back they have step-by-step instructions for how you make a pledge. And we have 3 flavors of these, one for Employee Express, one for CFC Nexus, and one for MyPay. So depending on the federal agency you're with, we'll provide that particular card for you so that you can hand it out to your would-be donors. This happens to be the MyPay postcard, and you MyPay folks, you'll notice that there's on yours there's a little bit of white space below the instructions box, and we intended that for you to write down the numeric code that they're going to enter at the end of the pledge process, as I was talking previously, so that they know exactly what to put when they make that pledge if they're provided with this card. Okay, let's talk a little bit about social motivation. This is about harnessing positive peer pressure, because we as human beings are very social creatures. We tend to do the things that we see our colleagues and our friends doing. So the way you can bring this source of influence to bear, for example, you can engage your leadership at your office and ask them to visibly and vocally support the campaign. The effect of a positive manager on the CFC really can't be overstated. I've seen again and again that when you have support from the top, it really makes a difference in the campaign. However, there are some instances, and there are a few agencies, and I've had some feedback now and then, that the head of the agency or the office may not be particularly well liked or influential. And if that's the case, then you might want to go a different route. And we'll talk about some different options in a minute. But by and large, having the support of your manager really can go a long way. So what we have provided at the toolbox a document called 10 easy ways managers can support the campaigns, and I recommend that you download that and share it with the head of your office. You'll notice I've got a picture of a tip jar here. Whenever you go into a restaurant or a bar or a place, an establishment where they're accepting tips, you'll notice that they never put out an empty tip jar. They always put money in it first, usually their own money. And the reason is that no one wants to be the first one to put money in the tip jar. So we recommend that you do something similar, starting by setting a goal for your agency's campaign. You can take the average of your 5-year CFC history for your office, and if you don't know what that is, email me and I can provide that for you. And then you can maybe set a goal based on your highest year and maybe 5 or 10% higher, whatever you think is accomplishable, and then publicize and track that goal. Maybe your boss or the leadership will approve some sort of internal incentive or reward for you together reaching that goal. But when it comes to seeding the tip jar, we're providing for you this thermometer poster where you can publicize your goal and track your progress toward it. And like the tip jar, we recommend that you don't start at 0. So maybe make your own pledge, get your manager to make their pledge, and some of the people in your office that you know are annual contributors. And then when you put up this poster to start the year, you can start off at 10 or 15, 20%. And you've seeded your tip jar and shown your colleagues that that this is something that people in your office are supporting. Another great thing to do with social motivation is to make sure that you're having some activities or perhaps some, we call them fundraisers, the D is silent, where you're not just raising a little extra money for the campaign, but you're really raising morale and awareness of the CFC along the way. So as I like to say, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. I've got a picture here of this happens to be real federal employees from an agency in the Boise area, and they had a tradition for a while where they did a frozen chicken shuffleboard contest on a hardwood floor. There's a bunch of different ideas that you can download from the campaign toolbox, and you don't have to, obviously, you don't have to be this outlandish and go wild, but you can have a lot of fun and maybe find an activity that would work well in your office for your culture. Our silent auctions are popular, potluck lunches or breakfast, those are popular. There's a whole bunch of different ideas. One thing with fundraisers is that we do recommend that you start by doing your normal pledge drive and then you follow up later with these fundraising activities, just so people don't get in their head that, hey, I went to the ice cream social and I bought a bowl of ice cream. That's going to be my CFC contribution this year. Source 4 is about social ability and finding strength in numbers. So this goes back to whether or not you have enough people on your team to do the job and reach out to everybody. Together you can brainstorm ideas to make the CFC fun and effective. But I think the most important part here is for you to stop and ask yourself, who are the social motivators in my office? Who are the people that everyone looks to, whose opinion counts, who are well liked and respected? And if you can get those people on your team or just make their CFC contribution, those are the people that others will follow suit. So if getting to the agency head isn't the best idea in your situation, this would be another option for you to find those social motivators. And today's really smart marketers do this all the time. They find the bloggers and the people on social media who've got 1,000 followers, and by reaching out to them and getting them on board, they can influence a lot of different people. Source 5 is about structural motivation, the things that you have in place to help people have a desire to give. In this case, we're providing some of them for you. So I told you about the coaster. It's for simply $1 a paycheck or the equivalent in a one-time contribution. You can receive this coaster. So you give $26 to any nonprofit of your choice, and this coaster is just a thank you gift that they'll receive. Again, these are both optional. And then for those who are interested in being part of the Leadership Eagle Club, by signing up for $14 a paycheck for civilians, $364 total, they can receive the CFC Eagle coin. Along with the structural motivation, the signs and cues that are in place, we are providing for you 3 different options of poster, and each one of them again comes with a name, a face, and a story, so that you can put those up in the office, and they help be your visual cue and help motivate people. So there's 3 different options, and we'll be sending you these as part of your CFC packet. So by the way, you might be wondering, when are we going to receive these things? We're automatically going to send each of you, unless you're going to one of our local kickoffs or training events where we'll bring these in person, we will be sending you a package in the mail that contains these items that we're talking about. Now you don't have to request them, but if after you receive your package you find that you would like more of something, or you're short on one particular item, under the campaign team menu, hover next to campaign managers and click on materials order form. Here you just put in your name and address and the quantity of the particular item that you need, and then submit it, and then we get an automatic email, and we'll try to get these items mailed off to you as soon as possible. All right. And finally, well, not finally, but in Source 5, this is such an important one. Follow-up is so key. I always joke with people, and although I'm not joking, the one day of the year when my phone rings more than any other is December 16th, which is the day after the campaign closes. And that's when I have individual federal employees calling me up and saying, oh my goodness, I just went to make my pledge because I forgot, and I just realized that the campaign system is now shut down. What do I do? We will accept paper forms after the 15th of December, but that just tells me that there are so many people out there who are willing and wanting to give and just forget because life happens and work happens and the form gets buried on their desk. So a friendly reminder can really go a long way, and we found this out last year when I sent an email out 2 days before the campaign, and I encouraged all our CFC coordinators to forward the email to their office. And on December 15th, the day they sent it out, I had never seen such a big one-time spike in online donations. So this really is key. Don't hesitate to send a friendly reminder now and then, especially toward the end of your campaign. And then finally, Source 6 is structural ability. And this is about the environment that we project for the CFC. And really you and the people on your team and your management team provide the environment for the combined federal campaign. So take a moment and ask yourself, am I happy about this? Is this an optimistic and positive thing? The image that you project is going to be the feeling that comes along with you as you approach somebody. So I hope that you'll be happy and supportive. I mean, I can always tell the difference between a volunteer and a voluntold. So if you are a voluntold, I hope you'll turn yourself into a volunteer and find the fun and find the enthusiasm and find really the joy that can come from this, because you are helping others and making a difference, and going along with our theme, literally changing lives. Okay, that's all for influence. I do need to take a moment and make sure you're aware of some important CFC regulations, and that is that This is designed, first of all, designed to be a non-coercive campaign. No one should ever be pressured to give. And one of the things that's important to remember is that supervisors may not directly solicit employees one-on-one to make a contribution. Now, agency leadership can certainly endorse the campaign broadly. They can send an email or a memo. They can stand in front of the group and let them know that they feel it's important, but they should not be visiting people one-on-one and directly engaging the people who report to them. So that it's supposed to be a peer-to-peer campaign. And as I said before, this is not your manager's campaign, and this is not the department head's campaign, and there is no one in the government that is going to receive a raise or a demotion based on the results of CFC. The only organizations that will benefit or lose will be the nonprofits who are participating. You as CFC managers are not allowed to create or maintain lists of contributors or non-contributors. You can, of course, use information from the CFC to help you know who has given and who has not, so that you can follow up with those who still need to be followed up with and provide the incentive items for those who need them. But it's not something where you should ever be creating a spreadsheet of non-contributors and sharing that with management or anything of that nature. I don't think anybody would probably do that, but I need to make sure that you're aware of that. And please always remember that donors need to always choose their own charities. One moment while I shut my door. Okay, sorry about that. I had somebody in the hall. So donors always need to be able to choose their own charities. We're not supposed to favor any particular organization over another. You may invite a nonprofit, if they're in the CFC, to come and speak to your group, and that's actually encouraged and recommended. But you have to make it crystal clear that they are one example of a charity among thousands of charities that donors can choose from, and that you're not particularly endorsing that charity, just giving them an opportunity to tell their story as an example of what good can be done through the CFC. When it comes to fundraising events, and I get this question a lot, what do you do with money that you raise from fundraisers? We have two ways that you can go about this. First of all, you can tell everybody that, let me use a chili cook-off as an example. If you're going to have a chili cook-off and you have people volunteer to bring in chili from home and for a contest, and you're going to sell chili to people for $5 a bowl, then you can choose to either tell all your donors that their $5 contribution is going to go to the undesignated CFC fund. You have to disclose that so that it's just going to go to all charities that receive contributions in the CFC in the very same proportion that it was designated. Or you can tell everybody, give everybody a pledge form and tell them that they have the opportunity, if they wish, to designate their $5 to an agency of their choice. So it either all goes undesignated or everybody has the option to choose their own charity. Unfortunately, what you cannot do is you cannot pick a charity for them and say, hey, we're going to do this fundraiser for CFC, but everything we raise is going to go to the local Red Cross. You're not allowed to do that. It's against CFC regulations. If you wanted to, if there's a particular cause or something that means a lot to people in your area, let's say that you had a coworker who had battled a particular disease, you might make the suggestion that that would be a nice thing to do, as long as you make it clear that people have the choice to give it to any nonprofit that they desire. And finally, when it comes to the pledge form, I do recommend that you involve the pledge form in your fundraisers because, first of all, there's never any question about whether you are favoring a charity, but even more than that, you can raise your participation rate that way, because the way we count participation in the CFC is a donor's name on a pledge form. Are there any questions on what we've covered so far?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go on and talk about how you get reports about the pledges that have been made, especially online pledges, and then how you in turn report your results to CFC, and how you process pledges that may need to be processed. So you may have asked yourself the question, so when I have people at my agency who make an online pledge, how am I going to know as a coordinator that somebody pledged online? Because they went to their own work computer and they logged on and they made that pledge, and you don't get an email or anything to notify you. The way you're going to do this is you each need to register an account with CFC Nexus. CFC Nexus is going to be your one-stop shop for getting information about all online pledge contributions. So obviously, if a donor makes a pledge on CFC Nexus, it will show up there. But even if you are a MyPay or an Employee Express federal agency, we are going to manually upload those pledges into CFC Nexus, because everybody can access it, and then you'll be able to download reports showing you who's made an online pledge. So I'll show you how to do this. The first thing you need to do is register an account yourself with CFC Nexus. Even if you are pledging with Employee Express or MyPay, you need to get a Nexus account. And then you need to email me and request administrative access to your 2015 pledges. Now, even if you were the CFC coordinator last year for your agency, and you did this, you do not automatically have 2015 access. So you need to log in, confirm that you're still with that agency, and then email me to request that I update your access for 2015. After that is done, you'll be able to log into CFC Nexus and get reports. And let me actually leave the screenshots and just go live and show you how to do that. So you're going to come in, I'm going to go to Home, and you're going to, this will say log in, but since I'm already logged in, you'll notice that I have the option to make a pledge or see my pledges. But up here, if I was the coordinator, I'm going to have a menu now that I didn't see before. It's going to say My Tools. And, oops, I need to log out actually and show you the, I'm in the payroll method, so one moment. Okay. So here under Tools, you will see a menu item called Coordinator Tools. And then you're going to come over here and click on Report. And it's going to pull up, I have to re-register as, maybe I better go back to the screenshots after all, it might be faster. So that's how you're going to access the report for who's pledged online. I'll show you using the screenshots what you're going to see. Like I said, you're going to go to My Tools, and then you'll see something that looks similar to this. This green button here you can click, and this would be your federal agency, and underneath it you would be able to view a list of people who pledged online. Or you can click on this blue button that says Download CSV of this report, and then you can download all the pledge information into a spreadsheet. And that way you can sort it by name, or by a gift amount, or by who was interested in the incentive items. Whatever information you're looking for, you can easily sort that way. So I think that's a great method of getting your reports. And now, as I said, those who use Nexus to pledge, their information will appear in the system instantly. However, with Employee Express and MyPay, it's a manual transfer process that we have to do daily. So if you have a donor who pledges online in the morning and you go in that afternoon and try to look up their pledge, and they said they pledged online, but you don't see them there, just give it 24 hours, because that just means that we haven't done that transfer yet. So within 24 hours, the MyPay and Employee Express pledges will probably show up. Okay, now if you're not an Employee Express or a MyPay agency, and you have people who use CFC Nexus to do a payroll contribution, there is one additional step that you need to take. Again, you need to register with CFC Nexus, which you may have already done, but in this case you'll need to request not only coordinator access, but you'll need to ask me to update your account to be the payroll specialist for your federal agency. This does not apply for those who did a credit card transaction, only a payroll gift. And after you have access, once again, you'll log into Nexus, and you'll go to the same place. Under My Tools, you will now click on Payroll Tools, and then you will select Process New Pledges, the bulk method. That's the method that I recommend. It's just easier and faster to process everything at once. So you'll find your particular federal agency here. You'll select your name, and then it will show you a list of pledge forms. So you'll have two steps, step 1 and step 2. You're going to click on step 1, print all pledges listed below. Actually, this is all step 1, but ignore this export pledges bit. Just do the print all pledges listed below. And it will find your local printer, and you will be able to print off every donor's pledge form. There will be one pledge form per page. It will look like this. And then the button will now say step 2, mark all printed pledges as processed. You're going to click on that, and what that will do is tell CFC Nexus that you have now been in the system and you've printed off the pledge. And the system will now permanently delete that donor's social security number. This will go away forever, so that if anybody tries to hack in outside of the campaign period, there will be nothing to hack. So all that information, the social security will go away, and the system will know that you've now processed the pledge form. So now you will be left with a printout, and you're going to take that Nexus payroll deduction printout, and you're going to send it to your federal agency's payroll center. You're not going to send it to me or to Intermountain CFC. You're going to send it to payroll. If you're with MyPay and Employee Express, you don't have to worry about any of that because it goes directly. But for all of you, just a real quick point that I would like to make. Please don't send us information about online pledge data. We have access to all of it. So we already know who's pledged online from your federal agency. We can look and see. So if you send us information about online pledges along with your paper pledge forms, it's only going to serve to confuse everybody. But that does bring us to paper pledge card processing. How do you process a donor who makes a paper pledge form contribution? Well, it's really simple. You're going to collect their paper pledge form, and there's 3 copies, a white, a yellow, and a pink. You're going to tear off the pink copy and give it back to the donor. That's the last copy, or hopefully they've already kept it for themselves. Then you have a white and a yellow copy. You're going to take the white copy and you're going to send it to your agency's payroll center along with any CFC Nexus payroll contributions, those printouts that you just did. You don't have to do that if it's a cash or check contribution. We're only talking about payroll pledges. If a donor hands you a pledge form and there's a check or a one-time cash gift involved, you can give them the white copy as well as the pink copy, or you can shred the white copy. It doesn't need to go to payroll. So together with the Nexus pledges, you'll send those white copies and Nexus pledge printouts to your payroll center. The yellow copies of the hard copy form you are going to put into the white reporting envelope that we provide you with. It will look like this. You will put your federal agency's name, the total number of employees at your agency who were solicited, not just those who gave. And then you will check one of these boxes depending on whether it's your first, additional, or final report. And you'll put in the number of people who made a payroll gift right here and the total amount of their pledge. Again, there's yellow copies inside of this envelope. And then you will put the number of people who made a cash or check contribution and the total amount of those. This will also include if you did a fundraiser and you provided the pledge form, so everybody who went through the chili line filled out a form and designated their pledge, you'd put that on the cash check line. If you did a special event or a fundraiser and everything goes to the undesignated fund and there's just one form for everybody, and you just put the total amount of that fundraiser here. If for any reason you have an individual who wants to make a confidential gift, a confidential cash or check contribution, they can drop that along with their pledge form inside a sealed envelope and hand it to you, and you don't open it, you just put the envelope inside here and indicate the number of people who did that. Last year we didn't have a single individual who did this line, but it is an option. Then you total everything, and then you put your name and phone number here. And we also recommend that you have a witness verify the totals for what's on the envelope before you turn this in. And that's important because, especially if there's cash or checks involved, you want to make sure that you counted everything correctly. We always open these envelopes for hard copies in the presence of 2 people in our office, so that there's never any question that what came out of the envelope was indeed what you had written right here. And if there is a discrepancy, then we immediately make a phone call to you and ask if you can tell us why, you said there was $50 inside the envelope, but there was only $47, and most likely it was that it was counted incorrectly. But you can avoid that by having a second person verify your totals. If you don't wish to bother with sending cash or check in the mail, we will provide for you a deposit slip. And you can take that to any local Wells Fargo, which is where we bank, and then you can deposit that cash or check directly into our CFC bank account. And then all you do is they will give you the yellow copy, and they'll also provide a bank receipt, and you drop in the yellow copy plus the bank receipt, and you put that inside this white reporting envelope instead of the cash, which is beautiful because it's already in our account, and then we just match up that deposit slip with the statement we receive in the mail. That's optional. Are there any questions about pledge reporting or processing?
No.
Again, these slides are available for download to refresh your memory at the end of the campaign.
This is Bonnie from DOE in Moab. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
If you do take cash or checks to the bank and deposit them and insert the envelope, do you list that on the front of the envelope?
Yes, you do. Just as if you had actually put the cash or check inside. But when we opened it up, we'll see that you have the deposit slip, and the amount that you put here will match the deposit slip, and then we'll match that up with our bank statement, and you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, this brings us to, we're near the end of the presentation now. I just want to stress how important it is to say thank you to every donor and to all of your campaign team and everyone who participates. It's really important for people to be recognized for the good that they do. And I have a kind of a startling statistic to share with you, and that is that research says, by and large, the average contributor does not remember being thanked unless he or she has been thanked on average 3 times. It's kind of surprising. That's what the research says. So to help ensure that people are remembered to be thanked, we're providing for you a thank you card. It looks also like a little postcard, but there's an illustration from a child who stayed at a CFC nonprofit for a short time, and they provided this picture for us. And on the back, going along with our theme, there's this message, but then there's all this white space. And we will encourage you to write a short personalized message to the donor. You know, dear Jane, thank you so much for your gift to charity through the CFC. You've really made a difference. You know, signed Bonnie or whoever. That's the kind of thing that they will remember. So you can provide that for them. We certainly encourage you to verbally thank them as soon as they make their contribution. And then you can do other things. You can ask the boss to send an email or a group memo. This would be a group thing, not an individual probably. You can put up a thank you banner, bring in some food, whatever you think would be an additional thank you to help people realize how valuable they are. So I encourage you to do that and make sure everybody is comfortable and feels appreciated. One thing I would not do would be to single out any individual, especially in front of others, to say, hey, you know, thanks to Jane Doe who made a $500 contribution. That's going to make her feel uncomfortable and may make the person next to her who didn't pledge quite as much feel uncomfortable, because it doesn't really matter how much somebody gives. I am a firm believer that a single dollar will make a difference in someone's life. And just to give you an example, $1, you could take $1 to the store and buy a can of food, and we could do that same thing with the CFC. You could buy a can of tuna or some peanut butter, and you could prevent a child from going to bed hungry tonight. Or with that same dollar, you could give it to you know, the food bank, and they can stretch that dollar into as much as $8 worth of groceries because of their buying power. And that's a real statistic that they shared with me. So you can do so much good for just a single dollar. You won't miss it, and yet you've made a difference and changed somebody's life because of it. So I hope you'll treat every donation equally and just treat the donor like gold. So now that I've shared that, I want to take a moment and thank each of you for who you are and for what you do. We cannot run this campaign without federal employee volunteers. So I thank you for stepping up to do this job, and I want to thank you for what you do every day in your daily public service as federal employees. You serve and you protect and defend our nation. You keep us running, and I really appreciate that, and I hope that you know how much you are appreciated for all that you do. If you have any questions, anything at all that I've covered during this presentation, feel free to speak up. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have a question that arises. It's what I'm here for. Bruce Jacobs. I'm at bjacobs@intermountaincfc.org, or you can call me at 801-399-5584. Thanks, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.